Hello and welcome to State of the Nation. My name is Ejiro Unuata, aka Mr. Waf. Yes, on State of the Nation today is going to be a special one as a result of what the event happening in the war right now. We saw what happened on the 7th as of this month, October, how Hamas invaded Israel and there were a lot of casualties. Over 9,000 persons, 900 persons rather, have been confirmed dead by the Hamas terrorists. So today I'm just going to be sampling opinion so that you can draw conclusion to what you think. By sampling opinion, I mean playing some of these clips that will help you shape your own opinion. So let me start basically by listening to one of the persons who probably the spokespersons of Hamas, he tried to make a justification for what they did. Let's listen to him.
Done. He is a spokesman based in Beirut for Hamas, which of course is designated a terrorist organization by the UK government. I asked him how he could justify the killing of so many Israeli civilians.
Well, I want to tell you something, some good story. There is an occupation for the Palestinian lands from 1948. For 7 decades and more than this, Palestine was occupied. And you just realized yesterday that there is someone is killing the Palestinians. The Palestinians, they were being killed for the last 7 decades by the Israelis. Excuse me,
How
sir,
does that
you have
history
asked and
justify
I
the
have to
killing
answer.
of innocent children? How does it justify
You
taking
asked and
old
you have
women
to
and
listen
men
to me.
hostage?
This is your problem, guys. You don't like to listen. You don't want to listen to the Palestinians. You just want to talk about the Israelis.
That is not true.
You
I
are
was in the Gaza Strip. I was in the Gaza
no, no,
Strip
no,
2 years
no,
ago
no,
when you
no.
were being bombed by the Israelis. I'm asking you now about
Okay.
Saturday's attack, how you can justify
No one,
the
no
kidnap
one,
of innocent
no one.
men, women and children, the killing, the massacre of innocent men, women and children.
Look,
How can you
look.
justify that?
Well, look, you are asking the wrong question. I'm telling you, you are still asking the wrong question. There is thousands of Palestinians who have been killed, and no one is listening to their cause. No one is talking about the right of the Palestinians to have their independent sovereign state. Why the resistance in the cause? You have to blame the international community who did not make the needed pressure on Israel to apply the international resolutions.
If it weren't for your actions, on Saturday, the Israeli army would now not be bombing the Gaza Strip. Then that means that hundreds of innocent Palestinians who are dying today in the Gaza Strip would not be dying. This is on you, sir. This is on you.
No, this is on your hands, the British government who created Israel on our lands. This is the fact which you don't want to listen to. You create Israel on the Palestinian lands by Balfour Declaration 1917. You created Israel in 1948 on the Palestinian lands, arming Israel, making Israel the most powerful country in the region. This is on your hands, you and your government. Look to yourself, sir.
Let me ask you again. Is this what you did on Saturday? Not basically a suicide mission. You're not going to get rid of the Israelis. They are here to stay, just like you're here to stay in this neighborhood. There has to be some kind of sharing of the turf. There has to be, at the end of the day, some degree of dialogue, perhaps a two-state solution. Right, that is the reality of all this.
Excuse me, we will not leave our lands. We will resist the occupation. Show us the seriousness of the international community. Implement the international resolutions. Let the Israelis push the Israelis hard to leave our occupied lands. This will be the reality which the Palestinians will see and will believe.
Let me ask you finally, how does all this end? How does all this end?
I think the real end will be make an end for the occupation. Concentrate on the main cause of the problem. the occupation.
And what's your plan for the hostages that you're holding inside Gaza? Will you release them peacefully?
There is prisoners of war prisoners, and there will be after the
Prisoners
Israeli
of war,
stop their
they are
violations against
children,
Gaza.
they are
There
old
will be
people, they are
there will be
civilians.
the, okay, that is what the Israelis are saying. We didn't talk about even the numbers or the names. We want our prisoners in the Israeli jails back, and that will be a prisoners exchange.
Well, you heard him. It's up to you now to draw your own conclusion. I mean, a lot of persons say that, oh, how could Hamas do this without really knowing the consequence of what will happen? Because as it is now, Israel has been bombarding Gaza for days now, and to make things worse, oh, some persons say, oh, Hamas probably must have done their math and do some strategic work. They want to drag Israel into Gaza so that they can really nail Israel. But Israel is coming out with different technique because they've shut down on electricity supply, water supply, and food. So right now, it seems like they are using a different technique. Let's starve them. When they get weak, then we are going to hit them. That's what it seems like. Because now there's this conspiracy theory about, how could Israel intelligence units, that's the Mossad, and every other intelligence unit in the world, the CIA and the FBI, could not really uh, gather enough intelligence to know that enough intel, that is to share intel to know that something like this is about to happen. Some persons are saying, could this be that the Israelis wanted these guys to commit this act so that they can really pound on them? That takes me to let's see what experts are really saying about this particular war, because some persons are now saying that, oh, they find it difficult to believe that the Israelis must have probably heard about one or two things
It
about.
began Saturday morning with a massive rocket barrage from Gaza striking across Israel. While targets were hit, the likely intent here was to keep Israelis indoors, to distract from the invasion.
Well, you saw how rockets are being fired, into Israel, and the Israeli were able to intercept some of these rockets that was fired into their territory. That takes me to wonder if
David
this were
Common,
to happen in
CBC News,
Nigeria.
Toronto.
Okay, let's
Let's
hear
bring in
from him.
Sajjan Gohil for more on this. He's an international securities expert with the Asia Pacific Foundation. Now, Sajjan, we've been hearing Israel was wholly unprepared for this attack. Some are calling it an intelligence failure. How do you see it?
It was an intelligence failure on an astronomical scale because you just have to look at how unprecedented the levels of failure were. This was a failure of human and signals intelligence. It was a failure of land, air, and sea intelligence, and then also a failure of intelligence from Israel's allies. All of this combined contributed to what has become one of the most devastating incursions into Israeli territory ever by Hamas.
How was Hamas able to organize such an attack without being detected by Israeli intelligence or the intelligence of its allies?
Well, if we look at, on the one hand, the failure of Israel's intelligence, that may have been partly directed by the internal challenges within Israel itself. The country has been very much divided over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial overhaul regarding the independence of Israel's courts. That's had knock-on effects throughout Israel's society because very much there have been 10,000s of protesters every day gathering in various parts of Israel. Many
Well, like what the expert is saying, Israel, we are so much distracted by the protests. The new law that Mr. Security, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, is trying to bring on. They are trying to do a lot of reform with their judiciary, and that led to a lot of protests, and that led to a lot of distraction, according to experts. Now, let's listen to what a former ambassador uh, of Nigeria is saying. What does he really have to say about
They
this?
have we've had several Middle East wars. Now we are going through the war between Russia and Ukraine. We've had the cleansing of the Armenians from the Karabakh, and now the latest in the Middle East war, all within the lifetime of one man. I'm very unhappy.
It began Saturday
Bloodshed
night with a
all over the
massive
place.
rocket barrage from
Where
Gaza
do you want me to
striking
start?
across Israel.
With
While
Exodus,
targets were
which
hit, the
they said
likely
promised
intent
Israel the land in the Middle East, with the Crusades, where the Arabs took over the Middle East under the Ottoman Empire, the First World War, which then gave the Middle East to British Mandate territory, the Second World War, where Europe, out of a sense of guilt because of what happened during the Holocaust, the pogrom against Jews, now gave the Middle East to the Jews. And the United Nations created two states. And that was the beginning of this unending violence, the beginning of the injustice, and the beginning of the war.
Well, the ambassador just took us down memory lane of what really led to this particular fisticuff, if I might call it so. Well, this is where I draw the curtain for today's program. Probably in future we are going to do a super bumper package of what really led to the war and how it can be resolved. I'm looking at how to reach out to the ambassador of Palestine in Nigeria and that of Israel. That will be a special edition. Let's keep our fingers crossed. If you want to get more, just go to my Twitter handle at Mr. Diniwaf at Diniwaf and follow me. Go to my YouTube handle, Mr. Waf Gallery. Probably you get more and drop your comments there. It will be appreciated. See you some other time. My name still remains Ejiro Unuata, aka Mr. Waf.
And so we are now